Welcome to In Conversation with Evergreen London Consulting, where we discuss the intersection between business and sustainability with a focus on doing good for the planet and profitability. I'm Natasha Robert, founder of Evergreen London Consulting and your host. Today, I have the pleasure of talking to Natacha Wilson, who is the founder of Cambridge Insights since 2015. Cambridge Insight is a learning and development consultancy focusing on leadership innovation, culture, and sustainability. Natacha specialized in research, innovation, technology sector with experience in corporate in University of Cambridge. So welcome, Natacha, and thank you for joining the conversation.
Thank you. Super happy to be here, Natasha.
Let's start with your work. So tell me what you do at Cambridge Insights.
So I get the chance to work with amazing people and help them develop their leadership capabilities to meet the challenge that we are faced right now. We know we're in the 21st century. It's a very different world. We talk about the VUCA world, the volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous world. And we have a lot more external challenges than I think maybe ever before. We're more aware of them now. So everybody, of course, talks about climate change and global warming and the geopolitics. So I developed this consultancy and decided to really focus on leadership capabilities and innovative cultures to really help having a real open conversation about how we co-create new leadership. How do we ensure that we identify the human skills, because we have AI coming up, so a lot of fantastic opportunities in terms of technology and how you can help us, but how as human we can develop these amazing skills that make us human, but also the mindsets that are required, a change of mindset on how we see our environments, how we see each other, how we think, and the wisdom. I'm very much into wisdom, so skills, mindset, and wisdom. And I do that through developing or co-working, co-developing with my clients, workshops, leadership programs that can be blended, so some online, some face-to-face, and also through coaching, and also strategy days. So there are the three areas that I think make a big difference, where you feel like you can go deeper into conversations rather than really nice to do training sessions, like a couple of hours or days on topics, and you acquire knowledge. But what I'm fascinated about, Natasha, is how we can help change how we think and practice, how we can change the way we are making decisions, better decisions, sound decisions that are linked to, I call it the pegs, prosperity, environment, social, and governance. Okay. You need all of them connected. You can't just think, oh, either prosperity, and it's just economic and finance, and we have enough money or we have enough customers. It's also about what is our impact in terms of environment, social, and governance. So yes, so I'm going to come up with a new theory around pegs, which I think is quite nice because you can imagine.
Never heard about pegs. But that's a good acronym. Yeah. A very good acronym. I really like what you say about wisdom. That's the first time I hear a coach think about wisdom. How do you define wisdom, and how do you help people see it?
Super difficult. It's a bit like defining culture or defining sustainability. It's one of these concepts that our mind can't quite comprehend. What I love about the idea of wisdom is, if you look at ancient philosophy, you hear this idea that wisdom is the absence of fear, which I think is quite interesting. So it doesn't mean maybe necessarily that we're not aware of what is going on, but maybe we are sensing and being more tuned into our environments, so that we're coming from new decisions or a place where we can actually understand the choices that we make. So wisdom also could be seen, for instance, for indigenous, tribes. There's this idea of like the seventh generation impact. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's quite fascinating. So the idea is that when we make decisions now, we should make sure that the world in which we live will be still sustainable 7 generations from now.
Oh, wow. So thinking 7 generations ahead.
Start small, and start to think about not just now, but maybe 1 generation from now or 2, maybe we need to build up. But it's a different thing. So the wisdom has to be about how we connected with nature, how we connected with each other, and understanding more about ecosystems, and understanding about how we are all interdependent and how we can't take nature for granted, and not being faced with just like paralyzed with fear and thinking, okay, global warming, okay, how do I do it? What do I do? It's too big for me. It's like climate change. It's like so remote from our day-to-day life. We have to translate it into what does it mean for me individually, but also in a business or organization or in my role, all these different hats that we have. So it's kind of like trying to understand complex information and see how you can make sense of it. So there's an element of education, I think, Natasha. I think that, sustainability and all the related aspects, so maybe being a sustainable citizen sounds good, should be part of the education curriculum, around the world. It should be something that we talk about more openly at school. It should be something that, we talk about in our families. And understanding that it doesn't have to be a drastic change yet. I think if we wait too long, there might have been some, like we may have to be forced to change.
Yeah.
But small changes that we can make and have more informed, data that we can trust and some frameworks, as you say. So the difficulty, I think, with those choices is, as you say, is you've got so many data. And to me, that's what I'm excited about, is opening up conversations and being really open on it's not easy. Change is not easy, so it's maybe why we are all finding it a little bit hard and tight sometimes, because it's quite draining, and it's switching and being more curious and excited about opportunities. And often you hear people saying, oh, but it's just all about stopping growth. It's not. It's about green growth. It's about circular economy, and how that can also we can set up new businesses, new innovative, projects that can help create jobs as well.
Yeah, it's the evolution, I think, from my point of view. It's really about the next evolution.
And that's where people need support, because you have to, and that's why we need frameworks, and we need additional knowledge and skills, and absolutely. And then I think it becomes more, instead of the fear, you become more of like a slightly uncomfortable, but you're more stretched, rather than actually feeling like you really don't know what's going on. So that stretching zone is the one we both work in a way, helping people to kind of like go slightly beyond their comfort zone, but having enough knowledge or enough information and support that they are happy to make these changes.
The next question I ask my guest is, if you could tell me what's the favorite part of your job, what do you really love doing, and why are you so keen on it?
So what I love doing is the diversity and freedom. And I think that's why maybe both of us have set up our own consultancy, is that you can work with people that you can help. You can work with people who have some shared values. And I think that for me is so important. And that freedom, is really important. The second thing that I think and that's also across boundaries, which is also very nice. So boundaries of sectors, boundaries of countries. And that international element is also very important. So this diversity of thoughts, diversity of views and perspectives. And the second thing that I think I love, and that makes me really happy to get up in the morning, is those moments of insights. That's why I call my company Cambridge Insights. It's like, this Eureka moment. It's like, and then people are like, I get it. And now it really allows me to have other options and choices in decisions, or allowing me to think about different collaborations, or allowing me to think about different ways how I want to influence others. Those insights are so magical. And then working from that to then, go to the next phase of development, where people can really make changes in the way they are doing stuff, in the way they are working with others, in the way they're making decisions. With a goal, of course, of, again, growth, but that growth that is not only, that growth is financial, but also, or funding growth, but also looking at impact, that positive impact. And that is the beauty of it.
Great. I love your definition of the, seeing the spark.
Yes.
And, kind of when people get it.
And it's magic,
What does sustainability mean for you?
Interesting element around some of the frameworks, which is about do no harm. And I like that. It's about the impact we make on our environment, or on people we work with. Also, it's about for me that is more exciting, shaping better futures. And
Yeah.
I say that in futures with a plural because we have options at the moment.
It's because then you can include do no harm for planet, do no harm for people, do no harm for others, do no, you know, biodiversity, do no harm.
Embedding sustainability in the purpose of the organization. We got chickens, so I got hens.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so maybe that's one way to reduce my carbon footprint or being more sustainable to a certain extent.
How many do you have?
So we had 4, 5 initially, and then we've had many different hens, you know, over the time. And unfortunately, foxes are also very keen on hens, as I found out. But the whole idea is that to be a bit more self-sufficient. So I have this idea that, you know, maybe I do grow a few vegetables when I can, and I was, you know, playing with the idea of being sustainable with my own food production. I'm not going to do that ever because I would not eat very much. But it's this idea as well of being more aware of where food comes from, you know. So having more of you know, of a clearer decision on this and being conscious. So conscious, maybe in terms of our food, you know, consumption is quite interesting. The same with the clothing. So I don't buy fast fashion, or I try not to as much as possible. More recycling, more going to charity shops, you know, more conscious as well about where the clothing ends, where is it coming from, you know, how is it being manufactured. And I try to make my own clothes, but again, it's not coming very quickly. So I think it's just more playing with the idea. So things like, personally, you know, what we eat, what we wear, and how we move about, transport. This, I think all of us can make some changes. So luckily, where I live in Cambridge, we can cycle everywhere. So I have a bicycle. I've had bicycle for like, you know, 30 years, and it's my main transport system. And so being considerate, not, you know, maybe flying as much, you know, all these different things, understanding again the energy that is used and the carbon footprint. So I think from a personal level, that's maybe what I'm thinking about. And of course, in the way I work, who I'm supporting, you know, talk about form the future. I support other organizations that are about helping women in STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and math, working in climate change. So things like this are, of course, more like purpose-led projects where you really feel like, I know you're supporting, you know, the rewilding community. So it's I think makes a sense. It's linked to our values. It's really important. And maybe, you know, finally, it's about encouraging others to think differently. So that's why I'm very excited about working with universities and business schools to try to help having this discussion with, you know, students that are master level. And, you know, I also help and support a colleague who does work with more teenagers and thinking about sustainability really early on. So these are, I think, maybe ways we can influence gently, softly, sometimes with more strength, you know, and exploring communities that are particularly interested in one area. I think, as you said, Natasha, I really like what you say about, you know, sustainability is so complex and so big that we need to maybe just say some people are going to be linking to a value of theirs, something that really is meaningful, and that's okay. And for them, sustainability is about reducing waste, or it's about rewilding, or it's about climate action, and it's okay. And coming into that, helping and listening. Maybe the biggest thing is listening. Listening for understanding. Yeah, do nothing is no longer an option. I think that's, to me, maybe one of the main insight of this discussion. So we need to embrace this discussion about sustainability, and having this you're right, this discussion that can be sometimes a bit uncomfortable if you talk about people, for instance, about engaging and saying which actions that are linked to your values that you're willing to take on a personal level and at work.
Exactly. I like that.
That's good one.
Very good. And the last question, and that's the one I still find difficult sometimes, is like, what would you tell your 20 years old self to do differently, feel differently, or behave differently?
I love this question. I was like, wow. And I'm like, okay. And there's lots of ideas that came up, but I think the one that was maybe the strongest, is about that we are all connected. So this interconnectedness, both with nature. We are nature. Actually, we are nature. We are part of nature. You know, we are, our own little way we live is like a whole ecosystem, you know, so we are part of nature. And and we are connected. And in view of that, I think we need to be more curious and learn from each other, and then the wisdom will come up, because by sharing and understanding that we have to protect this nature, I think we will make different decisions rather than like taking nature for granted and saying it's serving us. It's a different, so we're part of nature, so we're part of the ecosystem. That's what I would say, which I'm sure I would translate it differently, because at 20 I probably wouldn't have understood any of that.
But thanks a lot for all of your open answers and your knowledge and your wisdom.
Thank you.
So really, really loved it.
Thank you so much, Natasha. It was wonderful talking to you.